hours after a hitch-free unfolding of the Social Democratic Front Party convention that took place in the chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon, the residence of the party's chairman, FRU NDI'S, was hit by a fire disaster. That was last night. In this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, the governor of the northwest region of Cameroon and the chairman of the principal opposition political party in Cameroon tell us that it was a criminal act. Plus, Mancho BBC and other persons that were arrested and detained in connection with the current socio-political crisis rocking the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon has indicated that he can put an end to the Anglophone crisis if he is granted his freedom. We also talk about the ordeals of teachers that have been incarcerated in the central region of Cameroon following a protest demonstration that was orchestrated between Tuesday and Wednesday this week. A teacher is our guest tonight. Those are headlines. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Let's begin right away. In the chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon, the residence of FRU NDI'S was visited by fire last night. It broke out at about 10 p.m. and only the section of the kitchen was affected by the flames. The incident came after the holding of the Social Democratic Front Party convention at the Congress Hall in the northwest region of Cameroon, which took place under tight security. The governor of the northwest region of Cameroon has said that it was a terrorist attack. Let's have the details in the following report. The Ntarikun residence of the chairman of the Social Democratic Front was the center of attraction Thursday morning, following the fire disaster that broke out Wednesday night. The flames that damaged part of the kitchen roof broke out at 10 p.m. when locals had all retired to their homes in respect of the curfew in the region.
About 10:35, I was in my room. I was still up. By that 10:45, I was watching a football match. So my other brothers were still around. They were still up. They were online trying to have fun with their friends. So just about 5 to 10 minutes, I left the main house going to my own room. And then one of my junior men shouted, "Fire, fire." Then when we came, the fire was on, so we tried to put it off.
The population's efforts to put out the flames were beefed up few minutes after by elements of the Army Rescue Unit in Bamenda. On Thursday morning, the governor of the northwest region of Cameroon, the auxiliary bishop of the Bamenda Archdiocese, His Lordship Michael Bibi, were at the compound of FRU NDI'S to evaluate damage incurred. Governor Adolphe Lele Lafrique, after taking stock of the situation, concluded that it was not an accident.
It's another terrorist act that has been perpetrated here today concerning the chairman of the Social Democratic Front. It's a symbol that were attacked today here in Bamenda. Of course, I've given instructions to the security services to find out the author of that evil act and to prosecute them in keeping with the laws and regulations of the Republic. As a result of that, we are going to step up the security measures to face all those threats that are coming. Thank you very much.
One of the witnesses, however, disclosed that no suspect was spotted around the chairman's residence and that it is still unknown whether the incident was a criminal act.
It was really flammable. The fire was really high.
Was it carried in any container?
No, from what we went around from out of the fence, what we could see is this Saka motor that about 8. So, and a gas lighter. So we, from our own investigation, shows that they must have used either a plastic bag to carry the gasoline or whatsoever they brought, because we didn't see any container.
The fire disaster broke out few days after the convention of the Social Democratic Front, which took place under tight security following threats from pro-independence fighters in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. The SDF party convention that took place amid tight security in the northwest region of Cameroon. It should be noted that the vicinity that was precisely at the Congress Hall where the convention was taking place, there was practically a ghost town, and the business presence that were around the set Congress Hall were not present during the 3 days that the SDF convention actually took place in the northwest region of Cameroon. The fire disaster that broke out last night was highly condemned by the chairman of the principal opposition political party, Nijon FRU, that has indicated that the Social Democratic Front is a national party that has always stood for the federal system of government. He equally condemned the attack. It was during a telephone interview that was granted to Babla Jonathan. Let's hear him in the following interview.
Went to bed, and as the first look of coming to my eyes, I heard a bang on my door, that fire. So I jumped out and went. By the time I got behind the kitchen where the fire was, the children were already on removing the zinc. The girls were throwing water, and when you throw a bucket of water on the fire flows and flows with the water and be coming towards you, because of things they make oil and petrol. So that when you throw water, the water will not affect that further. But luckily for us, they managed to remove the zinc, throw water, and we put up the fire. The fire brigade people finally came, but before they got here, we were finished with everything. And this morning, we have the Bishop of Banenda, we've had the governor, the LGO, the GOs, and so many personalities, my parliamentarians, were all passing to see what is happening.
Was it an arson attack?
It was an arson, because we got the bags in which they carried the fuels to come burn. We picked the lighter that they came with, and the police, the gendarmes, and the judicial police are doing their investigations. And in the section of the kitchen near the road.
Mr. Chairman, is there any link between what happened last night at your residence and the threat that you received from unidentified individuals before the national conventions of the Social Democratic Front?
If somebody tells you that he will kill you, even if a different person fires a gun at you, says that person who are threatening you.
What do you say to those who might have masterminded such an attack on your person, your residence, and of course the party by extension?
Well, yeah, I want to let them know that it's not through this that we win a war. It's not by attacking even the people that are sympathizing and trying to protect you. So if they leave the principal person who's called the problems in Cameroon, Mr. Bia, and they are attacking the food, it only should failing on their side.
We now talk about the case between Mancho BBC and the state of Cameroon that has again been adjourned to the 16th of March 2018. Mancho BBC and the others, including that is Ngwa Ngaling, appeared before judges at the Special Criminal Court in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. That was today. During the hearing, Mancho BBC said that if he is freed, he's going to provide solutions to the current socio-political unrest rocking the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. According to him, the problem is political and needs a political solution to save a country at the blink of a civil war, and that dialogue should be given pride of place. It should be noted as well that Thomas Awa Jr., that is a journalist, has once again pleaded with the court to set him free due to his failing health condition. According to the journalist, he was arrested while on duty for Afrique de Radio, that is based in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. He equally dismissed all the charges that is of cessation levied against him. It should be noted that Mancho BBC, as Allah indicated, and the 7 others that appeared in court today are due to appear again on the 16th of March 2018. The other individuals that were equally arrested in Bengui of the Momo Division, Northwest region of Cameroon, for illegally keeping guns and other weapons, including explosives, are due to appear in court on the 16th of March 2018 as well. On to other news, we take you right away to news out in the nation's capital. Rather, one of the teachers' trade unions backing the rights of secondary education teachers in Cameroon that were on strike between Tuesday And yesterday in the nation's capital, Yaoundé actually boycotted an inter-ministerial session that was chaired yesterday by 3 government ministers in the nation's capital. He was indicating that the 300 teachers that were on strike and incarcerated should simply be released. Our reporter EQUINOXE TV tells us more.
The 7th session of the Interministerial Committee, charged with the responsibility to examine and provide solutions to problems tabled by teachers' trade unions, opened in Yaoundé amidst tension. Cameroon Teachers Trade Union for Africa, SECA, maintains its stance to modify the agenda of the session. It ordered for the release of over 300 engineering teachers arrested and detained in various detention facilities in Yaoundé. According to the Secretary General of Cameroon Teachers Trade Union for Africa, Maurice Tege, they cannot meet for the sake of aggrieved engineering teachers and what is discussed, contrary to the jailing of 300 teachers. He demands the liberation of all incarcerated teachers before works could continue.
Le ministre de l'enseignement supérieur est en train de donner
a marriage between teachers and education authorities, which is rather tearing apart than reuniting.
Où on a l'impression d'avoir un silence.
Higher Education Minister Professor Jacques Famendongo instead promotes deliberations which have nothing to do with preoccupation of teachers and the hundreds jailed.
Qui ne répond pas justement à la préoccupation des syndicats.
The Secretary General of SECA, Maurice Tege, affirms that no positive result has been recorded ever since the Interministerial Committee in charge of examining and proposing solutions to the plight of teachers came to existence.
À sa 7e session et passe à son 14e mois sans avoir rien fait du tout.
The Secretary General of SECA aborted himself from the barren meeting of education stakeholders.
C'est un ordre du jour qui est assez plat. On vous parle de l'exposé des ministres sur l'état d'avancement de l'intégration.
Other teachers' trade unions effectively took part in the session. SECA, the Cameroon Teachers Trade Union for Africa, according to its Secretary General Maurice Tege, will only bounce back into the session when the 300 detained engineering teachers are released.
Je suspends la participation du syndicat des enseignants du Cameroun pour l'Afrique jusqu'à ce que les enseignants soient libérés.
The strike for payment of years of accumulated salaries, among other things, continues. Striking engineering teachers are still kept behind bars.
That is Innocent as the reporting now. We talk politics here in the economic capital, Douala. Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel Agbo, National President of the Reform Party, says that he's going to be running as candidate during the presidential elections in Cameroon this 2018 to unseat President Paul Biya and provide solutions to the political problems plaguing Cameroon today. He granted a press conference in Bonaberi of the Douala 4 municipality. Babla Jonathan was there. He spoke to the barrister at law. Let's hear him in the following excerpt.
Les explications suivront en cours de campagne. On the basis of the plan of action that has just been exposed, Reform Party, through my person, announces that Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel will run as Reform Party candidate for the presidential election 2018. And during the campaign, we are going to develop our plan of action and give you all what has not been explained here today. Our first strength is that we are coming against somebody who is tired. He's tired, worn out by age, tired, is sick, and he has no ideas. He's weary of ideas. We are coming with a very powerful plan of action that has a solution to all the problems plaguing this nation. And we have the energy, and we have the people to work with. And we have an anti-electoral fraud plan, which will help us corner all those intrigues. We all know that if you want electoral code to be changed, it means that you want Mr. Biya to remain in power forever, because it will never be changed. Let him bring his electoral code as it is. We shall beat him with it. Well, I said we have a plan of action that has a solution to end corruption in this country, unemployment, by the creation of jobs from our own means. We don't want foreigners to come here and tell us that they have money. We are just useless people. We have the plans to create a vibrant economy in this country. 35 years of economic crisis is too much. Enough is enough. That nonsense has to stop. We want to create a vibrant economy in this country.
Those are the political, economic and social promises of the president of the Reform Party that announced today that he's going to be running as candidate during the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. Now on to something else. A group of women have stood up to say no to deviant behavior during Women's Day celebrations coming up on the 8th of March 2018. They are preaching celebration without excesses, celebrating March 8th in another way is a concept through which they want to sensitize women across Cameroon to celebrate their day in a responsible manner. They granted the press conferences, as we can see, that was here in the economic capital Douala. For greater details, we're going to be having an excerpt of the concept's promoter, Anne Kodo. She was speaking to our reporter, Babla Jonathan.
A concept for women, because women have to celebrate March, that feast together, just to go before together, between women and between also men, to do a best Cameroon tomorrow. We identify a lot of problems. That's what we have to celebrate March in another way. What we have humor, we have identified a lot of problems. We can say soulever le cabas, we hate it, we have to celebrate it with our mind and ourselves, not only soulever le cabas, because we have a science. We have to celebrate as women who has developed herself. We want to develop also her country.
We now talk sports. Weeks before the arrival of the CAF inspection team to the country, works at the Olympic Stadium in the nation's capital Yaoundé is advancing in another visit to the site by the Center Regional Governor, who equally doubles as the president of the local organizing committee. And Paul Nasiribia has told the contractors to be able to catch up with the deadline of the said project. Details with Smart Njikan Gabriel.
At the Olympic construction site, the Paul Biya Stadium is gradually showing its face. This comes after the arrival of the prefabricated materials, which has enabled work to be done during the day as well as night. The general manager of the Piscini Group, Sam Tamin, tells us
what
has really advanced in the last 2 weeks, and during this period we have advanced at the level of the installation of the prefabricated materials and also the foundation of the East Zone, which is expected to be done by March 15. With the pitch of the ex-director also kept as a thing of the past, there have been a remarkable increase at the level of personnel as well as materials. The execution rate this far is at 24%, an evolution that the governor of the Central Region, Nasiri Paul Biya, was glad and told every worker to put in their best to enable that the Olympic Stadium will be delivered on time. Notwithstanding all the rumors on the social media about the change of the director of the project, Piscini saw the importance to respect the deadline and has recruited several Cameroonians who are devoted to enable that the deadline is respected. We continue to encourage them to work 24 on 24.
Et nous les encourageons de continuer de travailler 24 sur 24.
The Olympic Sports Stadium, that will have a capacity of 60,000 seater space, will host the opening ceremony of the African Nations Cup Cameroon 2019.
And that does it for this first segment of the news. Before we take you to the second part of this newscast, we have information from the northwest region of Cameroon that some individuals have been arrested in connection with the fire disaster that took place at the residence of Nijon Frundi. That was last night. We obviously will be telling you more on that in a subsequent newscast. Time for us to meet our guest tonight. Mr. Adamo Edward, an educationist and also the vice principal of the government high school, OGBHS Bikoko.
Yes.
Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Okay. Good evening, Mimi.
Tonight, the plight of teachers is going to be our focus. They went on strike on Tuesday. It's not the first time, of course, that they are they are going on strike, but we saw the action of the government. Hundreds of them were actually arrested. As far as the situation is concerned, what is your reaction as an educationist?
Well, I think that is very disappointing. It's true, I will acknowledge that the government has made some effort, but I think that arresting teachers is rather adding more fuel into the fire that is already burning.
What are the efforts that the government has made so far? If the teachers can be taken to the streets, it means that all is not well in the sector.
Well, I think some years back, the government was able to do some little improvement, like research allowances and trying to non-lodgement, what we called accommodation. Some little money was allocated for that. But we think that that was not good enough. And we think that we are far beyond that. Do you imagine that teachers do not have an insurance? You have people who are bare workers in companies. When they go to the hospital, their insurance is taken care of. But I am a trained teacher. With all the school I've gone to, when I go to the hospital, there's no insurance. So you can imagine the condition under which teachers do work. So I think the arresting is making things worse.
Your situation might be different. These are teachers that have not been paid for several years now. There seems to be a problem at that level of integration under the payment of teachers in Cameroon today. A good number of teachers will tell you that they have actually been integrated into the public service. Now they are waiting for the arrival or the payment of their salaries on the part of the government. Where does the problem actually lie?
I think the first thing is that the government does not communicate sufficiently. Even in times of crisis, the government should be able to communicate to individuals and tell them that we know you are facing very difficult situations. But this is how far we've gone. The last time they met and they made promises, nothing has come forward until this strike came up again. So will they have to wait eternally before until you react? Apparently, this indicating that in Cameroon, if you have problems and you do not go to the street, then those problems will not be solved. I don't think that's where we are. The government should be able to communicate sufficiently, letting people know that your documents are at this level, and in 1 or 2 months' time, in 3 or 4 months' time, this is what we're able to be done, rather than being completely silent. So that, I think, is a problem.
For the better understanding of our viewers, we know that from the time when a teacher completes maybe the training until when he or she is integrated by the government, there are stages. Can you tell us the position of the teachers that were on strike in Yaoundé? Are they teachers that have been receiving salaries and now they are just asking for social benefits, or they have not been receiving salaries at all? Tell us more about their situation.
Good. I would say that it's a global situation. We have teachers who are angry because they've not had the advancement. We have teachers who left school and have not received any salary. We have teachers who are partially being paid. They've not received their full salary so far. Then we have teachers who were promised that they'll be integrated. They haven't been integrated.
So it's an assembly of problems.
It's an assembly of problems.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's the problem. So I think that the government needs to dissect it by trying to indicate to them that teachers who were promised integration, this is what is going to be done, and teachers who started work and have not received salary yet, this is how far we've gone. We hope to pay you in 3 or 4 or 5 months' time. And teachers who've been receiving partial salary, your salaries will come in completely in 2 or 3 or 4 months. But when this communication is not there, we're waiting for Godot. We don't know when Godot will come.
Now, they were targeting the finance ministry in Yaoundé, the secondary education ministry. It should be noted that they are actually secondary education teachers. They were equally targeting the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training. There are equally reports that there's a lot of bottlenecks on from the time when they have to compile their documents and get their salary paid. Is that the situation on the ground as a teacher yourself?
Well, I would say that things have changed drastically compared to when I left school. I left school about 23 years back. In the days when we left school, it was clear that when you graduated, your documents, you're waiting for integration, and as you went to the field, in 4 or 5 months' time, something was going to, if they didn't give you the transport, at least in a year's time, you were going to have your salary. and you had what in those days we referred to as the GROLO, that's your arrears. But you know, we must admit that the country is undergoing crisis, and if the government were to communicate sufficiently to say that we are having some financial problems to handle all these problems as they go, it will be different. There's no discussion about that. You know, when you leave school, you are supposed to send your documents. Those documents go right to the Prime Ministry, and your integration decision is signed there. Then all the other documents, they come back into the public service. Then they are sent to finance. From finance, they now give you a matriculation number. When you have that matriculation number, you need to wait for a while, and eventually 3-4 months, you have part of your salary without the allowances. When you have the basic salary, you move on. You start sending in documents to have the necessary allowances that you are due. So as years pass by, if you give birth to children, they are also introduced into the entire system.
You have talked about the need for communication,
yes.
But the government has a different way of handling situations like that. We saw that a good number of them have actually been arrested, about 300 of them behind bars, and we saw politicians reacting. The CPP, Barrister Akere Muna, that is equally presidential candidate in Cameroon, they have been criticizing that move by the government of Cameroon. What do you have to say about that, this repressive action of the government as far as Cameroonians, when Cameroonians gather to demand for what is normally supposed to be given to them?
Maybe I will tell you that there are two ways of handling situations. But the other way the government has decided to take is repression. And repression is like trying to silence you. And when you silence somebody for a while, it keeps boiling in him. And when it comes out, it's explosive. I don't think that's a better solution. The state should be able to communicate. Do you mean these people were not trained? Do you mean these are not their workers? Do you mean they have not been working? We should be able to face the truth. Humility is what our government has failed. You know, maybe I may say this. In typically English-speaking countries, you are a master to save the people. You are called up as a minister to save the people. But typically in the French system is, you are a master and you dictate. You take the cane to whip. That's just what is leading. Maybe you will realize that the English crisis, the problems in the Anglophone zone, if they were handled with a lot of care
and
initially,
that is how it almost started off, with the teachers and the lawyers. It means that the government is not learning from mistakes.
May I add that those people you consider mean may be at the origin of their downfall. Teachers are men in their numbers. That's a core that you have to treat with a lot of care, because they are wherever, they are everywhere. And the least mistake, if they want to react, everybody will feel it. So I think the government has every, has every means to react in a subtle manner. You've treated them poorly, and humbly tell them, I'm sorry, I'm going to handle this problem. And it will be okay. But if they want to go by, I think there's some sort of intimidation. But you must be very careful.
They've been behind bars now for about 3 days. The children were supposed to be in their classrooms with their teachers, but they are not in the classroom with their teachers. What could be the impact?
Mimi, results will be very poor, for sure. I fear that it doesn't go the way it happened in the English-speaking part of the country. Because if all other teachers take to the street, I bet you, it will no longer only be teachers.
Because this is, of course, a general problem.
Yes, it will no longer be only teachers. Some other corps will step in. That is how we degenerate. We plead with the powers that be. We love this country to remain in peace. Handle problems peacefully. Going dictatorial or trying to use brutality will not solve this problem.
And in few hours from now, the March parliamentary session is going to begin.
Well,
should that be a preoccupation, a major preoccupation to MPs and senators in Cameroon? They would be meeting tomorrow.
I understand that. Yeah. But I must say that, you know, the parliament and the senate is predominantly a certain party. It may be my party, it may not be my party. And the agenda is set up according to what they want.
So nothing.
I don't say that they will not, but if they take it, good. If they don't, I will not be surprised.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adamu Edward, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. To our viewers, it was equally a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.